Have you ever driven down the street and came across like an apartment building that looked like old, there was holes in the roof and ugly, but you thought to yourself, well, that's an investor that owns that, I probably can't make that offer? Let me stop you right here. I'm gonna show you this apartment complex that I did the same exact thing, but that day I decided to stop, okay, and I ended up talking to the seller and getting the deal on the contract and buying it, and I'm gonna show you why I believe you should be stopping at more apartment buildings, making more offers to apartment sellers, so that way you guys can benefit in real estate investing today. Let's go. What's up, guys? It's your boy Sawan Belcher. This is me taking action on Instagram and YouTube. Definitely go ahead and subscribe and like. We got a great one for you today. Today I'm actually sitting in my 8-unit apartment building in Greensboro, North Carolina. I guess I bought this about a year ago. And up until then, I really had a barrier of belief about apartment buildings. Now, just so you can have some context, I've done over 300 deals at this point, and only 3 of them have been multifamilies. And so today I'm gonna try to help you understand why you should be focusing more on multifamily. You know, you can definitely still do your single family deals, but what I was doing was purposely bypassing apartment buildings as though I couldn't do those deals, and single family I was limited to. So I wanna help break that belief for you so you guys can get to your future self. Okay, so the first reason why I love multifamily, it's because it's the same work. You know, like I said, I drove for dollars on this property, driving around in neighborhoods I want to buy in, adding properties to my deal machine app, calling the sellers and talking to them. It's literally the same exact work. Okay, at one point when I got serious about apartments around this time, I actually just pulled all of the apartments, every single apartment in our counties, and I just decided I was gonna do a marketing campaign only to apartments, because that's how serious I started getting about finding my next apartment building. Okay, it's okay. It's the same amount of work, nothing different than doing your single family stuff. Okay. Secondly, you still can use no money, no credit strategies in order to do a deal like this. Okay. Now let me explain to you how I got this deal funded. Okay. So first of all, I know my typical single family numbers here. This is gonna be different for you, but this is what it is for my particular area. Okay, at that time, I knew that I could buy the door for about $40,000 to $50,000 a door. And I knew that typically my rental properties, I put $15,000 to $20,000 per door in the property. So when I did my analyzing, you know, to see if this was a good deal, I didn't know anything about NOI. I didn't know all these projections or any big stuff. I simply used my same knowledge that I had from my single family into my apartment unit. So I picked this property up for $375 a door. This is $375,000 for the property, which means per door I paid about $43,000. That essentially lined up with what I would typically pay for my single family. Now, when I did my numbers, I pretty much based it off of my single family stuff. I paid about $15,000 to $20,000 per unit to rehab each of the units, so that way I can get an average rent of about $1,000. And now I'm at this point where I'm about to refinance it, and my numbers have worked beautifully, and I didn't have to do any kind of arithmetic that I wasn't used to. Now, the way I actually got this deal funded was just like my single family deal, where I would raise $50,000 or $60,000 to do a deal, or even $100,000 to do a single family deal. This time, instead of me, you know, I think I had the belief that nobody would give me so much money in one transaction. And the way I do my business, I don't have like a fund, I don't have like a syndication or anything. I typically get my money from one person. So I think mentally it was kind of blocking me, you know, saying, hey, why would one person give me so much money? But I ended up getting one investor, my guy, my boy Kendall, gave me $550,000 on this particular property. That took care of the purchase and some of the rehab, okay, and some of the rehab. Now, I'm so grateful that I did so many single family deals, because at that point, I was kind of a master and definitely creative with coming up with the right terms. So I was able to come up with the perfect terms, an interest only note plus some origination points, so that way I can have a low monthly payment, only $2,000 to have my, you know, current multi-family building, right? right? And so I'm so grateful that I was able to do that. But I was able to use private money on the front so that way I can buy the property and start fixing it up, which eventually turned me to getting 2 more guys to lend about another $80,000 so I can finish up the project. But now I'm at that point where I'm doing just like I do on my single families, and I'm refinancing, my investors out. Okay, and I'm even actually on this one, I should be free and clear without bringing any, funds to the table. I might even walk away with a check. I'll give you guys an update on that as we finish our refinance. Another reason why I like multifamily, almost as much, if not more, than single family is because I determine what the value is. Okay, let me help you understand. This is one thing that I didn't understand when I first bought this, but now I'm understanding now, going through the refinance period. So the person I purchased this property from, insurance-wise, they were paying $6,500 for insurance for the year. So when I did my numbers, when I bought the property, I did my numbers based off of his insurance quote. But turns out the way my insurance guy did it, instead of getting 1 policy to cover an apartment complex, he got me 4 policies to cover a duplex. So essentially this building here is 1 unit down below and 1 unit up top. So that's a duplex. So he got me 4 policies to cover each of my duplexes. Smart. So I save money on my insurance for my apartment complex. Now I'm down to $4,000 on the insurance. And what I didn't know at the time is because I decreased an expense, right? Because I decreased an expense, now I increase my net operating income, okay? Now, the young man that I purchased the property from had the rents for the 2 bedrooms at $475 and the 3 bedrooms at $575. I increased the rents on the 2 bedrooms to $950. The 2 that stayed over in the 2 bedrooms was $800. But I also increased the 3 bedrooms to $1,150. The young lady that stayed in the 3 bedroom, hers is only $1,000. But since I increased the rents, that increased my NOI, allowing me to increase the income. So now I'm making more money with this particular property, and I have less. So for the grass, I think it was paying $280 a month. I pay $150. So I've decreased my expenses. I've increased my income, which makes the NOI better. So now that makes the whole value of the property more than I originally thought the property was going to be worth. And that's one thing I like about multifamily over single family, because single family, you're only limited, not only, you are limited to the comparable sales around that property. Okay, so if you have a house that's beside your single family house that sold for $100,000, okay, and you have another house on the right side of the property that sold for $100,000, your house is going to appraise at $100,000. Okay, but with a multifamily, it's going to be hard to find an 8 unit that has 3 bedroom, 1 baths in 2 stories, and then has 2 bedrooms, 1 bath in single stories, exactly like this, with the same amount of acreage, with the same amount of square footage. So commercial properties have a different formula than just ARV. They have a net operating income formula, which allows you to be able to force appreciate. You can essentially come up with your own value based off of how much income you bring in and how much your expenses are. I think that's just amazing compared to single family, okay? And then lastly, all the strategies that you love about single family can work for multifamily. Now, the first apartment building I got under contract is a 7 unit on Tucker. I got that from my list of apartments, did RVMs and cold calling to get that lead, ended up getting it under contract ASAP, dropped off a $5,000 earnest money deposit ASAP. And then I wasn't able to raise the money in 2 weeks, and my contract to close date was coming up. So I wholesaled it and I sold it to one of my buyers, Jacob Mullins. We've actually had him on the channel before. I'll link his video right there. But I was able to wholesale it and make a $45,000 spread on that apartment building. And so that actually became my largest assignment fee that I've ever had before. Before that one, my largest was $30,000 on a warehouse, but that one, $45,000, okay? Which goes into why I like multifamily, because the bigger the numbers, the more money you can make. Okay, our next strategy that everybody loves is subject to and seller financing. You can definitely do subject to and seller financing on an apartment complex. Okay, my second deal that I got was a 5-unit. Okay, was a 5-unit that I got on terms, $175,000 at 6%, and I ended up I didn't end up taking that one down, but I got the seller to agree to seller financing over a 30-year AM with a 7-year balloon, and I ended up selling that one to my realtor. I didn't keep that one as well. But lastly, we can also do our BRRRR strategy, which is this one that I was able to keep, right? Buy it with OPM, fix it up, get the income up, get it all rented out, and then refinance it so you can pay your investors back, keep the property, keep the cash flow. I love it, love it, love it. Look, guys, if you think that apartment complexes are outside of your scale, let me encourage you. You can use no money, no credit strategies. The way I qualified to buy this property was it was already rented out. I simply structured a deal with my private money guy so that the rents covered my mortgage. I also covered my private money to include my rehab so I can get the rents even higher. Okay, and then I talked to my mortgage broker so she can refinance me out so I can keep the property, pay my investor. Now me and him, we're gonna do it again, okay? So this video is meant to encourage you that you don't have to stay small. You can grow, you can scale. You don't need all three, time, money, and knowledge to do a deal. You just need two to do you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.